Am I going now? I'm not hearing. Okay, welcome to the class. This is Introduction to Permaculture, and my name is Will Hooker. I'm going to be your instructor. Preston Montague over on the side is the teaching assistant for the course, and you will be interacting with Preston almost as much as me when we're not in class. And he's very good at this. He's worked with me for a couple of years now, and he's a certified permaculture designer, so he's very good. A couple things before we go. This course essentially is going to have 3 audiences. One, you, the live folks, and you're the one that's going to give me most of the energy, and I appreciate that. A second audience is going to be the distance ed folks, and Kurt is here. He's been able to make it. He's in the distance ed section, and those folks will be taking the course mostly online. Now, I have a series of people who are in that course that are out in Texas and California. I thought I was going to have one guy in Germany. So it's going to be a fun course as well, because we'll get different ecologies that we're looking at as we go through it. The third audience is going to be the television audience in the greater Raleigh area. And so at times I'm going to reference that audience as well, so just be prepared for the whole, okay? Let me start by telling you just a bit about who I am. I've been teaching here at NC State. I think this is my 32nd year. That just sounds so old to me, you know, and yet I feel like a kid. I'm just having way too much fun, so there's no reason to stop yet. So I'm going to keep doing this for a while. I'm a registered landscape architect in North Carolina. I've been a certified permaculture designer and a certified permaculture teacher for about 14 years now, and I've been teaching this course since 1997. I feel really good about the course. It's got a lot of good energy. And we have a lot of good folks coming through. So there's a great deal to learn, and most of it is a lot of fun to do. So I'm looking forward to a wonderful semester. I'm going to pass out a phone list, and basically I want you to write your name, your email address, and your phone number on here. Cell phone, because I'll be primarily using this when we're going to be going on field trips. And if you say you're going to be there and it's 5 minutes after when we're leaving and you're not there, I'm going to call you. So I want to know how to get out, or text you. I think I can figure out how to do group text. I'm almost there. Do write legibly and don't go off the edge, please, and write hard enough so I can read it. Okay. Let me talk for just a minute about what permaculture is, and then we'll go from there. Permaculture is essentially a sustainable living methodology, and it's often constrained to gardening or something. And, you know, in many ways I love that. But what it's really about is a methodology that goes across all disciplines. And in fact, it crosses disciplines. Andrew, how you doing? Which is one of the benefits of permaculture, that it's a cross-disciplinary methodology. The specifics, and this was in your syllabus that I sent you, the specific definition, and this comes from Bill Mollison, is that basically it's a contraction of 2 words. I like to think that the contractions are permanent and culture. Often the methodology is associated with permanent agriculture. And so a lot of it just gets lumped into a gardening mode. It's far more than a gardening mode, is what I have to tell you. Obviously, what Mollison says, and I'll talk about these two people in just a moment, Mollison is one of the originators of permaculture, and he says it's the conscious design and maintenance of cultivated ecosystems that mimic natural ecosystems. So that's the way to go, and what it's going to give you is food, shelter, your materials, and even your non-material needs, hopefully coming from your own setting. And so, but there's lots of different definitions of permaculture. I show you this. My daughter, a year ago, for Father's Day, a year and a half now, painted my truck. And I said, well, yay. And it's kind of taken off the Thai truck that they really go wild on. And so she painted it, and I said, well, I need to have a permaculture slant to it. So she got online and looked up definitions of permaculture, and one of the definitions is this, revolution disguised as gardening. So here we go back to agriculture with it. But, I like the fact that it says, okay, we're going to change how we as a human species are inhabited this planet. And so that's really what we're trying to do. The two people that started it, one is David Holmgren. David was probably your age, many of you, when he wrote a treatise in his sophomore year in college. And he was in a landscape architecture program in Tasmania. And he wrote a treatise where he was saying, there's a better way for humans to live on this planet. And one of the professors saw it, and he said, oh, wait a minute, this makes too much sense. I have to have water. I have dry mouth. The professor was the guy named Bill Mollison, who was a forester and had lived in the wilds in Australia and Tasmania, and figured out where he was going with it. And so he looked at what this young upstart, David Holmgren, wrote and said, this is the way to go. So he got up with this guy, and together a few years later, they published this book, which is Permaculture 1. It's interesting. I just have to tell you this. When I took a trip, and this was in 99, 2000, I had a sabbatical study leave, and I structured it so I got an around-the-world ticket. And I circumnavigated the globe looking at permaculture because, I'd been doing it for a number of years. And I said, but I want to know more. And one of the places I stopped was at David Holmgren's place. And that turned into a really nice experience. And basically, David is a good friend now. And I tell you this because when I met him, he was brilliant. And I've since figured out he's a genius. I mean, he's a true genius. And I've met 3 geniuses in my life, so that's not something I just give out, kind of willy-nilly. David came to visit in 2005, and I hosted him at my house, and he stayed about 3 or 4 days. I figured by the end of those 3 or 4 days, I had the equivalent of a PhD. I mean, the guy is just incredible in terms of his knowledge and how he puts things together. So it's no surprise to me that his thinking led to this methodology. Now, I give Mollison the credit for spreading the methodology. He gets a lot of, his name is most often associated with it. David Holmgren put it together. Mollison figured out, we're not going to take this methodology and we're not going to put it through the normal tracks. Mollison hates universities. I didn't tell anyone that I was teaching at the university for a couple of years. And then finally I asked David, I said, David, I'm teaching. These people want to know. Is this bad? He said, Will, everything evolves. Keep going. And so here I am. Mollison would disown me. He just wouldn't have anything to do with me.